Thursday, November 20th, 2025. All right, I wasn't able to get that video out to you last night. I was pretty busy on the Jack of all trades, master of none. I said I was going to be doing a video on a certain type of a program that's been around a long time. Well, here it is, the 5x5. All right, this training style has been around quite some time. And it's got a lot of hate, and it's got a lot of people that love it, a lot of people that hate it. There are people that are saying out there that this program will destroy people, it doesn't do anything for them, that it's a power lifting program and not a bodybuilding program. We'll get into all that. So we'll start off is the origins of the 5x5. Where did they actually come from? Well, it's not very clear. No one really knows, all right? I'm going to put a link, all right, in this video on who created the 5x5, all the people that have done the 5x5. It's a very interesting link. You can check it out. I'll put it in the description. So check it out. There's a lot of information that I'm not going to go through it all here, but I'm going to give you my take, my beliefs on the 5x5, and how I incorporate the 5x5. All right. So where did it come from? No one really knows, but they say it's been around anywhere from 68 to maybe 70 years and even maybe longer. So it's been around a long, long time. By stating that there was no power lifting back before 1960. So just to give you, before 1960, there was really no official power lifting. I believe I'm correct. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no power lifting. So it went back clear to the origins in like 1950-ish, 52. Who brought this programming to light was Reg Park. And many people before him also, but I'm not going to go that far back. You'll see it in the description. But Reg Park brought it to the forefront because during his time, he was the first man to bench, first bodybuilder to bench 500 pounds. He was quite a big dude. He was from England. He was an Englishman. And he incorporated the 5x5, while all the other people were doing pump work, what we would call today modern bodybuilding, 3 to 5 sets of 10 to 12 repetitions with lighter weights. Well, what he did was he did heavy weights. He used extreme heavy weights, and he used a 5x5, and he devised a program consisting of all the exercises of 5x5. So we'll go on here. I'm going to go through this article here bit by bit. It says in the mid 20th century, the old timers mostly did basic workout routines centered around the squat, bench, and deadlift. Commercial gyms didn't exist yet. They didn't exist yet, so they had limited availability of what they had at their disposal. Despite this, they were able to achieve very impressive physiques before drugs entered the scene. All right, let's go on here. It says, unlike most gym goers today, the old-time lifters didn't focus on just building muscle and looking good. They wanted to be extremely strong. And that's my philosophy. They want to be strong also. They just don't want a lot of bubbly Michelin man, sarcoplasmic growth. They wanted to be strong. So they incorporated this type of style of training. All right. And it says here, Reg Park, the father of the 5x5. And Reg Park was a British bodybuilder who won Mr. Universe 1951, 58, and 65. He could squat 605 pounds and deadlift 700 pounds. He was the second man to bench 500 pounds and the first bodybuilder to do so. He was also an actor. We all know he did the Hercules movies at the time. Now, at that time, 1951 to 58, when he did these incredible feats using the 5x5, I don't know if steroids were present, and if they were pretty scarce, but I do believe that testosterone was available from Germany. The Germans had invented it, was giving it to their soldiers in World War II, if I'm correct. So I can't say 100% assurity that Reg Park was natural, although there are many people that claim he was, but that's for a whole nother subject. All right, as we all know, Arnold Schwarzenegger was his, Arnold looked up to Reg and actually went and trained and learned a lot of his techniques. So they were very, very close friends, and Arnold Schwarzenegger praised Reg Park. That's what actually got Arnold Schwarzenegger into lifting, according to Arnold in his books. And here it is. In 1958, Reg Park published the first book about the 5x5. So he did his first book, the 5x5, in 1958. This is many years, this is decades before powerlifting came onto the scene. So to say that the 5x5 is a powerlifting routine is complete horseshit. So it's complete horseshit. And this was 8 years before Arnold met him in 1958. And here's actually the book. I'm looking at the book. It was a blue cover. Strength and bulk training for weightlifters and bodybuilders, Reg Park. And this consisted of the 5x5. And it says here, how did he develop the 5x5? It says it's not clear. Reg came up with the idea for 5x5 workout, but he gives us a clue in the page 5 of the book. He says, what he's saying here in one of the paragraphs in chapter 5, he says that a lot of lifters would come to him and they would be on the programming of the day, pump work, light weights, a lot of repetitions in the 12 to 15 rep ranges. And they would write him letters and saying that they were looking okay, but they had no physical strength. So Reg would tell them to incorporate heavier loads, lower reps, and do the 5x5. And then it worked for many people of that day. Okay. So, and here's Reg Park's training principles. I think this is important to mention this. It says Reg Park's training principles. Reg was a big believer in the compound exercise. Squat, deadlift, bent over rows, weighted chins and dips, just your basic big movements. And because he said that you could do progressive overload on these movements, which is my complete belief from the get-go. This is what I've come to realize in my own training, and this is what my experience tells me of trial and error throughout the years, that is very true. If you want to get stronger, you have to incorporate big progressive, big compound lifts and not focus on every single muscle throughout your body. You just got to focus on the big structures, the legs, the back, the chest, and the shoulders, and there you go. So he was a big believer in progressive overload. And he also believed that the first 6 to 9 months, or 6 months to the first year, the trainee should be doing big compound lifts and 5x5s to build the foundation and core of your program. Then you can venture off, like I said, take what is useful, discard what is not from experience. And that's what I've done with the 5x5. And I'll get into that in just a little bit once I just get over with this overview. His workout was pretty extensive. That's why I could not do that. And here's the program. You'll see it when on a Monday, and they basically, it was a 3-day-a-week program. Monday was squat 5x5, bench press 5x5, hyperextension 5x5, and deadlift 5x5. Hyperextensions was 3 sets of 10. And this would be done Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, I'll get back to this, but there's a problem with this, and I think this is why, my personal opinion, why there is a lot of hate on this program. It does get you pretty stronger, but it doesn't get you bigger. That's the whole thing. You get a stronger, like T says, but it didn't get you bigger. And I think this is the reason right here, is because what's happening is we're doing squats 3 times a week, the bench 3 times a week, and the deadlift. So what my personal belief is when a person trainee is fresh and starts out with this, he will make big strides because he's fresh, his body's adapting, and he's not strong enough in the beginning, the first 6 months to a year. He's not strong enough to create a massive amount of overload so his body's able to recuperate. But as this program continues, he will burn out. If you get up to squatting 315, for 5 sets of 5, and you do that 3 days a week, it'll bury you. Same with the bench as you get stronger. So that's what I think happens when they say, oh, you're stalling out and you're getting stronger, but you're not getting up bigger. This is the reason probably why. My personal take is it's just too much work for a natural person. Maybe for someone that's assisted and on drugs, it would work. All right. So you get the gist of it. He would do hyperextensions, 3 sets of 10, squats 5x5, bench 5x5, deadlift 5x5. And you notice there's no direct arm work here whatsoever. There's no bicep curls. There's nothing. He incorporated that later as the program changed and the person advances. All right. Now here we go. This is really important. The 5x5 workout has its roots in bodybuilding, not powerlifting. It says right here, some people think that the 5x5 workout is a powerlifting and it doesn't build muscle. But the father of 5x5, which was Reg Park, was a bodybuilder who won Mr. Universe, Mr. Britain, and Mr. Europe. In this video, you can see him posing in 1957. My God, he looks phenomenal. I mean, the guy, he looks like a bodybuilder. He doesn't look like a power lifter to me. And he looks dense. One thing I'll say about heavy weights, they give you a density that's not acquired through pump work. You have that hard, dense look. You just look that density, not that Michelin Man look, which is just all water, sugar, and glycogen all in there. In fact, the sport of powerlifting didn't exist when Reg wrote his book, The 5x5. The first powerlifting competition was held in 1964. So prior 1960, I was correct, there was really no powerlifting, or people didn't powerlift. It was no one knew. It was just lifting weights, resistance training. And it was the first competition was held in 1964 at the York Barbell Company in the USA. And Reg Park wrote the 5x5 book 6 years before that. So it just shows you right there that it has nothing to do with powerlifting. And it says here, Reg Park never developed a 5x5 workout with powerlifting in mind. The sport had yet to be established when he wrote the book. He never wrote it for powerlifting. And here we go. Some people think the 5x5 is a powerlifting because it focuses on adding weight to the bar. They think this only builds strength but not muscle. This shows that despite the abundance of information, many people still do not know what makes muscle grow. But Reg knew. He knew what made muscle. Of course, you're going to get stronger. You are going to get bigger. But you know, I don't care what all the horse shitters, you're gonna get bigger. Okay, it's gonna be bigger for you. It's not gonna be like this sarcoplasmic and all this bullshit, which is all horse shit, and it's in today's bodybuilding. All this large muscles that are non-functional. All right. And it says Reg Park was way ahead of his time. And research has since confirmed that the muscular tension is the main driver of growth. Now, people can debate this. They're saying that muscular tension is the main driver of muscle growth. In order to grow muscles, you need to increase the tension on your muscles. You need to apply progressive overload. I believe that because I've noticed it in myself. The easiest way to do this is to add weight to the bar. It says, in fact, the American College of Sports Medicine has exercise guidelines for fitness professionals who create programming and state that muscular tension is the primary driver of hypertrophy. What kind of hypertrophy? I'm sure it's probably both myofibular and sarcoplasmic to a point. The resistance must be progressively increased if additional gains are to be occurred. All right. The 5x5 has stood the test of time, and which it has. It's been used for eons, in the last 100 years, I would say. They knew what they were doing. If you see Reg Park here in England with his, or in South Africa, he's here walking with this young kid, his son here. His son looks like about 2 or 3 years old. It's kind of cute. And he looks phenomenal. The build, and what I notice about the build, if you scroll down, you'll see him walking in here with this young kid. He has that dense, powerful look, not this horse shit like you see on these bodybuilders. It just looks terrible. The 5x5 is simple to follow. It's easy to keep track. You got everything there. I agree 100%. That's why I use it. Some will say it's outdated. I disagree. All right, now I'm going to get in, and then we'll get to the nuts and bolts of what I want to. There are other people that use a 5x5, not just Reg Park. You'd be fun. I was surprised. Bill Starr. Bill Starr was a weightlifter, writer, and strength conditioning coach. And Bill Starr was the editor of Muscle Magazine, Strength and Health. He worked for as a strength coach for the American football teams, including the NFL and Baltimore Colts. So he promoted and used the 5x5. They all used it in certain different manners. Bill Starr's training with the 5x5 is you would do your exercises, but you would do, for instance, your squat, and then you would do your bench, then you would do your he didn't do deadlifts, he did power cleans and then something else, and then you would start back with the bench. In other words, he didn't do one exercise 5x5 and then go to the next. He kind of rotated, and they did it because it was football and they had to be quick about doing the workout. So that's why it was done. So Bill Starr incorporated the 5x5. And he did a heavy, light, medium day, which kind of makes more logical sense because of the fact that you're working every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, all the same lifts. That's the thing that I do not like about the 5x5. All right, let's go on. Stuart McRobert, he's the guy that wrote the book Hard Gainer 1, Hard Gainer 2. He incorporated it, but he didn't call it the 5x5. He called it abbreviated training. Let's see, John Christie. Also, John Christie was a lifter, a coach with a background in exercise physiology. In 2006, he published the book Real Strength, Real Muscle. So he's incorporated his a little bit different versions of the 5x5. Then we'll do one more. And then we'll get into Brooks Kubik, the guy that wrote Dinosaur Training. He also uses abbreviated 5x5. That Brooks Kubik is a strong mother. He really is. That guy's incredible for his age. He's an old guy like me. He's a little younger. Just a few years. Let's see what his best lifts included a 507 squat, a 402 bench, and a 490 deadlift. Completely natural. I believe that Brooks is absolutely 100% natural. I can tell just by his demeanor. I've watched some of his videos. He's an attorney also. Or he was. I don't know what he's doing now. All right, one more and then we'll get into the Glenn Pendelay. Glenn Pendelay incorporated the 5x5 also. Glenn Pendelay was the Pendelay row. He was the guy that got named for the Pendelay row. And he incorporated the 5x5. And he's got his own program here. You'll see it in the write-up. Yeah, he consisted of squat, bench, barbell row. And then on Wednesday, he would do squat, overhead press, and deadlift. And then Friday would repeat the first one. Now, I like the way this is set up because one of the days you're doing a different movement. And that's kind of where I'm going to go with this when you see it, when we get out of here. Then you got the Mad Cow and all the others. So the point I'm trying to make, and what you'll see here is that the 5x5 is not something that just came out of nowhere, just Johnny come lately. It's been around for a while, and it's been in use for a long time. Now, here's what I'll say and how I use the 5x5, because this is what's going to be very important. I incorporate 5x5, and I'll tell you how I do it. 5x5 is baseline. That's like, boom, that's where I'll start out at. But I'm not frozen there, all right? That's to mean that I always come back to baseline 5x5. 5x5, it's where I know where my numbers are. It's that I know where I'm at. And I incorporate the 5x5, but not doing I don't do bench 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's why I have the rotations. So the rotations as they are now, I will give you example on how I set them up now, all right? I redid them a little bit. So chest day, all right, Monday, hold on one second here. I've got it right here. I keep everything on my strong apps, and I got all my programs right here. So number 1 in the rotation is close grip bench press, preacher curls, and tricep cable push downs. 3 exercises, and I hyper focus. I have the close grip bench. When I mean close grip, I don't mean like this. I mean a standard like this. You got to be realistic. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I don't do close grip like right here. You got to be right out here. Just a normal, I would call it a regular bench press, but it's closer than usual to hit the triceps. Then I have a preacher curl for the arms, and then I have a tricep cable push down. So we'll call that workout number 1. Let's say it's Monday. Then number 2 in the workout is what we did yesterday. It is squat, stiff leg deadlifts, and weighted calf raisers, just legs, all right? And then come this, let's say come Friday, number 3 in the rotation is seated overhead press, lying tricep extensions, and bicep barbell curl. Now, I've added in a 4th workout that I do on Saturday or Sunday, and I had to do that because there's other movements that are lacking here. So this is called the weekend, and that's a 4-way Nautilus neck machine, upright row, and lateral raises. 3 exercises done on the weekend. So it's consisting of a 4-day week, but the weekend workout, the weekend workout always stays on the same day. The other ones rotate. So here's how we'll do this. On the rotation, it's a 5x5 always from the get-go. I'll go into it. Monday I did close grip bench. I did preacher curls, and then we did cable push downs. So I'll start off. I go into the gym with the idea that it's a 5x5 for that day. If for whatever reason I feel like I'm not all there or whatever, I'll do 3 sets of 5 instead of 5 sets of 5. You see what I'm saying? But baseline is always a 5x5 because that gives me information. It gives me feedback on where I'm at. Baseline is a 5x5, but I can always step out of the box and I can always readjust. All right, establish where I'm at in that particular day because we're not the same all the time. So Monday's workout, let's look at the history. I'll give you an example exactly what I did. Go to the history. We go to, here we go. All right, so on Monday, we did close grip bench press. We did 6 sets, not 5. See what I'm saying? We did 6 sets. And the first set was 5, second set 5, third set 5, fourth set 4, fifth set 3, and sixth sets 3. See how I work it? So boom. So it's not actually a 5x5, but it is similar in the sense that I'm using heavier poundages. 5 repetitions, you're probably working at 85 to 80 to 85%, maybe 90% of your max. And the same with preacher curls. We did 6 sets of preacher curls. And the only one that we did do of 5 sets was the tricep cable pushdowns. So the 5x5 to me is just a baseline to where I'm at. And I can start out a 5x5. You can start this program and do strictly 5. I've done it where I've only done 5 sets of 5. But the beauty is that each rotation I'm not working squats Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I think that's where the fault lies in. You're gonna plateau fast. You're gonna go into a 5. If I do the regular 5x5 where I do bench, squat, deadlift, or row all in that same day, and then I repeat the 5x5 Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm going to do good, or a beginner will do good for a certain maybe 3 months. You'll keep adding weight, and then all of a sudden, boom, you plateau. So Mark Ripito, he says when that happens in his starting strength, he says to back off and cut back 20 or 10%. And then start all over again, which to me is a waste of time. So don't go there. Don't go to the stall to begin with. You see what I'm saying? Avoid the stall. Avoid the newbie gains stage, because you doing it the way I do it, there is no newbie gains. because you've got things staggered. Like, for instance, yesterday was squat day. I got some DOMs a little bit. So Wednesday was squat day. The next squat day for me now will be Friday. It's going to be on the 10th day. Everything's rotates, so every workout on the three main lifts, except for the weekend, which is just piddly stuff, the neck, just little things. The main lifts are always going to be on the 10th day. There's always a 10-day rotation. For instance, this coming Friday is shoulders and arms. Okay, that'll be done Friday. In 10 days from that date, we'll repeat the shoulders. And then come that Monday, give you an example. This Friday is shoulders and arms, number 3 in the rotation. All right. And then come Monday will be number 4 in the rotation, which is deadlifts and back. So that's the way I use the 5x5. It's used strategically. It's used so you're not going to hit massive plateaus. And when you do add weight, it can be in smaller increments. Whereas Mark Ripito and Starting Strength, they want you to add like 4 or 5 pounds. Well, you're going to hit hard. You know, you just can't keep adding weight, is what everyone seems to think. And as we get older, and you're older, it's going to get even harder. So the way I have it arranged, all right, is that every 10th day, and you should have plenty of rest. There's usually never nothing done on the weekend, but I had to add because I didn't want to give up certain movements. I don't want to give up my neck work because the neck to me is very important. And the shoulders, the upright rows, and the side laterals are very important because I have to keep things at 3 exercises. What I could have done is I could have put these 3 movements somewhere during the week on the other rotations, but then I would add, I don't want to add 4 exercises to a given workout because then you're adding, like, instead of, you know, it takes away from my, how would you say it, my ability to incorporate, because if I have 3 exercises, I can go hog wild. You know, I can go hog wild. Like, say I'm doing a squat and I do a 5x5 and I'm feeling good. I say to myself, man, let's do 8 sets tonight. Let's do 8 sets instead of the 5. Let's do 8 sets of 5. See what I'm saying? And then if I do that in that leg workout, I'm going to go, I don't want to exceed, the point I'm trying to make is I don't want to exceed 20 total sets in a given workout, just because of the fact that after a certain sets and certain reps in a given workout, cortisol is going to start to rise quickly, and the muscle effects, and I believe, are going to start hindering you as you start progressing through the workout with a lot of movements. It's going to start breaking you down, and then your recuperation is going to tank, and you're not going to grow. All right, and that's what, when they say, "Oh, newbie gains and plateaus," well, that's why, because you'll have bodybuilders and kids and young people doing all kinds of high repetitions, high rep work, and they'll do many exercises in a given workout, and it's just too much cortisol. All right, and that's why I do it the way I do. So I have to keep it at 3. If I go over 3, then I've got to move something around, or I got to omit them completely. And I didn't want to omit the neck, upright rows, and side laterals. To me, those are important. So it's called weekend work, and they're done on the weekend, every weekend. There is no rotating on them because they're smaller muscle groups. I don't even get sore from doing them, and there you go. So that's the reason for adding a weekend workout. So with that being said, that's how I incorporate the 5x5. 5x5 is just a baseline on where I'm at. I do not incorporate an actual 5x5. All right, it is a 5x5, but in the contents of that, it's just where it's a starting point for me, and that starting point gives me information. I'll start out a program. Let's say I'm on a a certain block of a program, and I'll start out 5 by 5. Then it'll give me the numbers. It'll say after 2 months on a 5 by 5, I'll know that I'm benching this, this, and that, and how I'm progressing. You see what I'm saying? Then if I want to get weird, I'll start doing like 8 sets of three reps. You see what I'm saying? Go for heavier, change it out, and always be auto-regulating, so your body's always guessing. It doesn't know what the hell's going on. And I think that's best for me as an older athlete and as an older lifter, of course. And that works. It works for me. All right. You could try it out, but I just wanted to give you a gist on the 5 by 5 today, because it's an old program. It's been around long time. And I will add this. There is another person that also has taken all this information I've given you, who already knew it, and guess what he comes up with? Ice Cream Fitness, which got a lot of publicity. Jason Blaha's Ice Cream Fitness. All Jason Blaha did was go back to what I'm doing. He probably did the research, and he incorporated his own 5 by 5 program, all right? It's not hard to do. This is a program that's been out there for decades and decades, probably the last 100 years. And people have all taken it and done their own thing with it, just like I have. So, Ice Cream Fitness, he got a big run for the money, and he took a lot of credit like it was his deal. It wasn't his deal. It was just something that has been around already. So, and the reason that I've taken it, I've kind of butchered it more than anybody else, because the way I do it is I just use a 5 by 5 as a starting point, and then anything can change. Nothing I do is ever written in stone. I can change from a day-to-day basis. I can change from a week-to-week basis. It's how I feel, how I'm interacting with that particular day, how my strength levels are, how my calorie intake was prior to that day, the stresses of the week, the stresses of the day. If I'm sick, am I not sick? Am I feeling optimistic? Am I feeling down and gloomy? All those things are all going to play a key role on how to come to the gym and get into the gym and focus and do your business and what you need to do. All right, that's, I think, pretty much gives it a wrap for this. Oh, and one more thing. I was talking to Steve, and he's a YouTuber over there in England. And I want to say this, and a lot of older guys don't understand this. Volume kills the older athlete or the older lifter. Mark Ripito in a video says that volume will surely destroy and bury an older lifter. That's why we're able to train heavier with lower reps and lower volumes and be all right. Once you start going to high-ass volume, we're talking 5, 6, 7 sets of 10 to 12 repetition. That may work. Well, it really doesn't work for anybody, but that may work if you're 20 years old. But on an older athlete, it'll destroy you, because our bodies are not able to endure, because you'll run into overuse injuries. That's why a lot of jogging, a lot of running, a lot of calisthenics, and like I said, Jack, is going to take you out. These things you got to focus on what you want to do. If I want to punch the punching bag and be good at it, then I would stop everything else. I would start getting back into my boxing, do my jumping rope, and only punching the bag and do some hitting the pads with a sparring guy and get trained at that particular thing that I'm going to do. Because for some reason, that means I'm either going to train for a fight or I'm going to be training to fight. But in reality is, at my age, I'm not going to be training to go fight in a ring. That's kind of history. And you don't need to be trained professional fighter to be safe in the street. Go buy yourself a can of mace or whatever and call it a day. Or, carry. I carry sometimes. And I'll carry mace. And there you go. So those things are way, way on the back burner, so I'm not worried. So I am focusing on regular conditioning and being as muscular, like I said, as muscular as possible for my age at 70 years old, to be as lean and as muscular as possible. And what I mean by lean, nothing extravagant. I don't mean having abs sticking all out. You can have a smooth belly, and I'm fine with that. There's no reason to be shredded down at 10%. There's no need. Just look muscular, have a nice big shoulders, a nice taper, and you're good to go. That's I pretty much covered it all in this one. I hope you like this video. The 5x5 Revisited. I hope you learned something, and I hope you like this video. Subscribe and like this channel. We're out of here for Thursday. All right. Ciao, my friends. Take care.